Okay, so today we're taking a look at EURCAD over here. One thing I'd like to point out. Okay, first things first. We've got the extreme range high over here, as well as the extreme range low. One thing I'd like to say is we're ignoring all of the price action to the left besides this low over here. This low and this low, we can group them together, is an external range liquidity run, right? So, looking at what we have going on currently. Inside of this range, what are we doing, right? We have point A and point B. All of this up range is our current range that we're looking at. This included, but this is what we're actively doing at the moment. This is the range that we're using as an anchor, basically, to reference. This is our reference range. So what we can see is we ran an external high, this high over here, which I would consider as an external high. We ran an external high, formed our swing high, and then retraced back into our range, running all of these short-term swing lows in here and bouncing off of this fair value gap. So this, in essence, is an internal range liquidity run. Sorry. Not only does it run internal on these lows in here, but as well as this one, which would be relatively equal with these in here, which has liquidity resting below it. So we have an internal liquidity run, right? This is an external liquidity run, and we close above that high. It's showing us willingness to go up. This internal liquidity run over here, as well as the displacement away from it after it runs it, shows us more willingness to go up. Now, you were asking me a specific question about these highs in here, which are the highs on the 4 hour. I think it was in here, the highs on the 4 hour. We swept these highs. We've got this large consolidation here, but what I want you to pay attention to is this. Okay, we're going to zoom in just a little bit. After we have this internal range liquidity run, this low now becomes important to us because it's had displacement away from it and it is a liquidity run. Remember what we said about when we run highs and lows? The next low that is formed after we run the previous low becomes the new low. So this becomes the new low over here, right? Now, if we're moving like we said, we have internal liquidity and external liquidity, and we can only move between the 2 points. So if we have a rate on internal liquidity, the next likely objective is going to be external liquidity, right? So that is reason to believe that this market might be bullish. We have a rate on internal sell side liquidity. The next objective would either be internal buy side liquidity, which at the time when you asked me the question, we hadn't run this high yet. It would either be internal buy side liquidity or external buy side liquidity, seeing as we've gathered everything below already. Okay. Now, I've marked out a few PD arrays that you can see on the chart. I hope it's not too complicated. Below us, we've got this daily order block here. That's the level that it's at. You can take a screenshot just to keep it in. In the zone between these 2 points, we've got the fair value gap, which we have tapped into. This over here, this gap is also important, but I'm not going to teach you about that yet. In here, we've got another fair value gap, which is important, and we've got this down close candle, which is also an order block. But what I've decided to do is I've decided to mark out a candle to the left of it, which is what we consider to be a breaker block. I will get into the theory of these eventually. You can just look at it as a type of order block. Okay, so we've got ample evidence that this market wants to go up, along with supporting ideas that even if it does come down, it might find support at this reference point, that reference point, or this reference point, right? What I would be watching for this is I should have made this earlier because I could have talked about it, but I was watching this high in here, and my initial thoughts were on this daily candle. before this new daily, our current daily candle printed, my initial thoughts were, we're stopping before running this high. We need to run this high if we're going to do anything. Now, if we zoom in, right, and we ignore all the price action to the left of this high, so everything to the left of this can be considered as an external high relative to this range, right, from this high to this low. This can be considered as an external. If we look at the range independently, this is an external, but we're not. We're looking at it in conjunction with the other range. But anyway, if we look at this independently, this is an external high. If we're running an external high, this could be relative to a lower time frame, which you could be looking at it like that. If it's a 4 hour or 1 hour per se, if I just go onto the 1H, right, you could be looking at it like this. If it prints, yeah, if it prints. So this is a range on its own. If we look at the range independently, this would be a raid on external liquidity, right? Now, getting back to our idea, the next likely thing to happen here after we've raided this liquidity is we need to target internal liquidity relative to this range, point A, point B. So from this low to the high that is currently printed, the internal liquidity within this range is what's going to be the next target. Now, oftentimes we'll take a look at our fib and we'll draw a fib from the low to the high and say, okay, we expect it to come below 50%, but we don't necessarily know how far they want to extend price. So one of the easiest things to do, and this is a gem, I want you to put this in your notes. One of the easiest things to do is to look at the first PD array, so the first fair value gap or order block that we encounter after we've run the liquidity, because that's going to be the most telling sign where the market wants to go. If we're still bullish after running this high, remember there is liquidity above this high. That's why we can see price kind of going down now. This is a daily chart. So we look at the nearest term or the nearest PD array, the most recent one that occurred before us running this, which is this fair value gap. If they come and they run directly through this fair value gap, it's most likely that they'll be targeting what's below. So then our fib would apply. But for this currently, what I would like you to do is, I'd like you to pay attention to this fair value gap. If they come down below our previous daily low, it can be considered bullish. Round about the high of this candle in here, which is, if I make it blue, 1.4709. Round about that area. If we tap into that, we should see some more continual buying, because this is the other thing. Let me try and open your eyes a little bit. Our actual range, our range high. Now I'm not talking about the big range. Remember, this is an internal one. But our current range, the range high and this range low. If you take the fib from the high to the low, you can see where we are operating, right? This level is at the 50% level. It's not a deep enough retracement for us to consider price going all the way down, which is what I saw you were expecting. So below 50% is our discount, okay? Anything that is below this 50% level, if I zoom in a little bit, is our discount, okay? So this PD array in here is still in discount, and we haven't necessarily tapped into the PD arrays that are in premium. So the only time that I would actually say and expect this price to go completely down is after we've tapped into these PD arrays, this fair value gap in here. Let me remove the fib. Okay, we've got two on. Let me remove the fib, and then let me remove these as well, and then I want to talk about something. Okay, So the black lines that you see on the chart, these ones, this is our current range which we're operating in. The yellow lines is an independent range before we ran liquidity, right? The red lines that you see is our big picture range, so our larger range. Where we are currently with the current range is an internal run on our larger range. So even though it's a external run on the yellow lines, it's an internal run relative to our bigger picture, right? Now we're looking at the black lines, right? This range here, if you look at this price only, the shaded area, would you say that it is bullish or bearish? Even though we're running an internal high, it still looks bullish. I want you to pay attention to each and every single down candle that we formed, starting from this point. Each and every down candle gets supported by price. Inside of here, we had that fair value gap marked up. Notice how price is just supporting down candles, and there's nothing in here that violates a down candle. Like for instance, in this range, you can see we're selling. Down candles get violated. But in here, down candles are just bearish candles. Sorry, in case the terminology is mixed up. Notice how they are being supported. So the order flow within this range is bullish. Okay, that is another thing to pay attention to when you're looking at ranges. Pay attention to the order flow. It's all bullish. There's not been a single indication. The first indication that this would be going down would be if we had a down close candle being violated with displacement. That's what we would need to see. We need to see a black candle printed on the chart or a green candle printed on the chart with a major black candle that violates another black candle. Like in this example over here. Green candle, black candle, the violation of a bearish candle, and that would be our first indication that price wants to go lower. Right? So I hope this was insightful. I hope it answered the questions that you had. I should be sending you another video soon. And we'll carry on with the work. But yes,